Hey guys, welcome to Grooves and Motivation Live. Jermaine Morgan here, and I appreciate you for tuning in. Everybody's already joined in the comments. Sean Lewis, I see you. Good morning to you. So we're going to talk about something really, I ain't going to say quick, but we're going to talk about something today. Were you born for more? Just a question I want you to think about. Stay tuned. All right. We are here. We are back. And again, I appreciate you guys, as usual, for joining in with me. And we're going to have some fun today. I got an email earlier part of last week about somebody not knowing that I was still going live on Tuesdays. It was like, man, I've been looking for your lives and I haven't been seeing them. I don't know what that is, and I don't know, but I want to encourage you guys. If you hadn't already turned on my notifications, be sure to do that, because I don't know why you would be missing these live broadcasts when I put them out there, because I'm live. I'm here, so I don't know why you guys wouldn't be seeing them. So yeah, let's jump into this thing. All right, just making sure you guys can hear me good. There you go. There we go. All right. So, Sean Lewis, good morning to you. Anybody else is jumping, be sure to let me know in the comments where you're watching from. As usual, I was playing around this morning. I just changed my strings on this bass, so we do have crispy strings today. So that's I'm happy about that. But I'm also giving a fair warning just in case I get out of tune for some reason. I shouldn't, but just in case I do, we still breaking them in. Uh, there you go, Marcus. I see you. Yeah, you ain't the only one, Marcus. So, Jonah, good morning to you. Kenny is in the building. All right. So let's see here. I was playing around to this. I see you, Cape Town, Fabian. I see you. So I was playing around to this song that I don't think I've actually played since I've released it. The name of the song is Song of Angels, and I was kind of playing around to this solo section, and I just literally started messing around with it just a couple of minutes ago. So y'all gonna hear me fumble around, and I like to do that. I like to put myself on the spot and just see what comes out, see if there are any different ideas that happen. But I don't think I played this song since I put it out with Dreams Work Reality Part 2. That's what it's on. Well, is that Part 2? Yeah, that's Part 2. All right, so Aubrey says, cop the Fender Jazz Player Plus. Recently on your review, tossed a John East preamp in it, and it's a monster. Oh, that's dope, man. Good stuff. Prince Dimitri says, just woke up from my night shift. Gonna grab my bass and follow along as best I can. There you go, man. That's all you got to do. Just get in where you fit in. All right, so let me play around with this track here a little bit. Let's see. Who's that? Tex Bass Fire. Good evening, sir, from Nigeria. Good evening to you. Good morning for me and evening for you. So as y'all are listening, tell me what time signature is this? go, Chris. I need to hear it a little bit more. Yep, that's right. Prince. Put those vocals in. So he says, what makes it 5/4? I'm not. I guess I don't understand the nature of the question. It's the count. It's the signature, the time signature of it. When you try to clap this or when you try to count it, you're gonna get 5. That's the best I can tell you. I know there's a more technical theory answer to it, but when you try to count this, let me do it this way. So, I mean, I don't want to insult your intelligence. Maybe you're asking something that I don't fully understand. But, yeah, that's definitely the pulse. I see Christopher dropped a answer. And I hadn't read the whole thing yet, but I think Christopher was trying to explain it to you. So, yeah, just feeling the pulse, you can feel where it's like something is in 4/4. 1, 2, you know, but with the 5, it's like this feels a little different. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. So instead of every 4 beats, you have 5 beats. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of thing, 5 beats to a bar, so to speak. I'm trying to find the. All right. So who else we got? Charles. Good morning to you, sir. Philly is in the building. He says, "Song of Angels is my wake up and grab coffee jam." That's good to hear, man. It's so funny to hear which songs you guys like really like from the record, the ones who have the record and who have heard the record. It's always cool to hear. I got feedback from several of you about the record and which songs were your favorite and all this kind of stuff. And it's just interesting because I don't know. I record the music and put it out there and hope folks like it. But, you know, it's always great to hear back what people are actually, you know, which songs everybody enjoying. All right, so let's loop this here. There we go. Sorry, I'm trying to find my bass. I typically I try not to go into of course when Jonah, when you ask that question, of course I know what makes it five, but typically I try not to go too deep theoretically in terms of answering certain questions because I don't want to further confuse people. Depending on the nature of your question, I would much rather have a clear understanding of kind of where you're coming from with it, because I know sometimes people can automatically go deep theory and folks get lost. Like, man, what are you talking about? And then for some people, it's like we can't go deep enough as far as theory is related. You says, thanks for the information. Learning the terminology is what I need to work on. Got you. Yeah. So you're dealing with more of the quarter note, that kind of thing. You're dealing with, when you deal with time signatures, you're understanding how to count and how to feel the pulse of what's happening in the beat, because some songs are different. Not everything is in 4/4. Most mainstream music, most of it, not all of it, is oftentimes in 4/4. Like I was saying earlier, you got something that's like a, just say church. Let's go CCM. I normally go gospel. Let's go CCM. So like the Nothing Is Impossible song, 4 on the floor. Do you? I can do anything. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can do all things. Dun, dun. Is it you? All right. Had to find what key I was in. You who gives me strength. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing is impossible. 3, 4, 1, 2. Just like so, a lot of your mainstream songs are gonna often fall on just a 4 count. 2, 3, 4, or even when you're playing just regular church. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. But every now and again, you'll have some odd time signature stuff that'll jump out at you, like either 9/8 or 12/8. Songs like more traditional type stuff, like like that's a 9. Right, so that song there, and you always tell when a person understands that timing, because when you get a drummer on that song, he's never heard it before and never played it. It's like, for us, it's like culture. You like we all do that song. That's like a standard in the black church, but everybody hadn't heard that. So you get somebody trying to play the drums on that song, like, wait, what's happening? So like a lot of those old hymns is in different time. So it's a matter of being able to feel and count that pulse and know where it is. Even with me being able to solo over odd time signatures or play something that's outside of the regular pocket, you got to be able to feel and count that pulse and know where the one is happening and where that turnaround is, because not everything is James Brown 4 on the floor. Everything ain't that. So you have to just kind of know how to, navigate out of each one of them. So Tech Z, I'm gonna say Tech Z says, I love the fact that you're a gospel lover, sir. Wash hands. I'm not sure what the wash hands mean, but I got you, man. I appreciate that. So the gospel thing is that's just who I am, man. That's where I come from. That's my foundation and everything. So you're gonna get that if You know what I'm saying? You can get the gospel if you don't get nothing else. But yes, so a lot, again, culturally, like when I started hearing, and the reason why I was saying earlier that I try to stay away from saying stuff, making it so deep theory, because the way that I came up, when we heard certain things like 9/8, that was a scary term. Like I knew what 4/4 was, I knew what 3/4, I knew what 6/8. But when somebody said, all right, we're gonna do this song in 9, I used to get scared because I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know how to count 9. I automatically assumed, because it wasn't something that I heard all the time, or even in band, it wasn't something that I saw all the time. I assumed automatically that it was hard, and never really jumped in my mind like, man, y'all do this in church all the time. You don't think about it because nobody calls out, hey, we're gonna do this song in 9. They just say, no, we're doing Amazing Grace. Let's go. You don't think about it. So you just start playing this stuff. But if you take time and really count or say out loud, okay, I know where the pulse is, but let me count this and see what I'm getting when I feel this pulse. So now you get on a song like this, and it's easy to make sense out of it, as long as it's grooving. Now, some people seem like they try to make songs hard, like they want to make you count. Like, I don't want to work that hard. I just want to listen and enjoy. So when I do odd signatures in my music, I try to make it something that you can listen to and enjoy. And then it's like, oh, that song is in a different, oh, wow, I didn't even catch that it was in a different time. I like that kind of stuff, even though the timing of it might be a little different because that's the way I heard it. But I still want to make something carry in the song that makes you enjoy listening to it. And there's a flow in it where you don't get so focused on the technical aspect and counting and all that theory stuff that you can't enjoy the music. Because at that point, we're just making music for musicians. And your average listener is like, all right, bro, I'm head out. I don't want people to do that with my music. So, yeah. This one. I'm just playing across the changes of this. Got my rig kind of hot over there, and I didn't realize I had it that loud. So that's why I'm like, man, is that gonna bleed through the microphone? So let me do something, because it's gonna bother me if I don't. Let me adjust my volume for my rig, so it's gonna look really weird when I jump off screen. So I'm gonna do this really, really quick. So while I'm doing this, I'm gonna do this. Bass players, it's that time again, and you know I had to do this one. This is for any bass player who's looking to improve your feel on some of this more soulful stuff, and you're looking to play something that feels a little different from the gospel stuff that we've been doing. This is just for you. Now, if you've checked out any of my other Bass Jam packs, you know exactly how this goes. There are 6 tracks included in this pack. There's a part A and a part B to each track. And also with the track, I'm going to include the sheet music and tab for those of you who need this music. Maybe this is not so common to you as it is for some people, so that's no problem. I'm including the sheet music and the tab just for you. Also, you're going to get 2 MP3s. One will include my bass take, what I actually played over it, and then you'll get one without my bass take so you can do your thing and rock out and have fun to it. And not only that, like I've done on every other jam pack, if you are a person who needs the additional help in terms of breaking down these tracks, because it might be a little complicated for you depending on where you are in your level as a musician, as a new bass player, I've also included the instructional for this where I go through and break down all 6 tracks. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is that I'm playing. I'm going to show you the progression. I'm going to show you how to play all these little crazy lines that we're doing throughout the song. So you have no excuse but to go in there and do what you got to do when it comes to practicing. So if you're ready to learn and play some heavy bass grooves, check out the All Soul Bass Jam. I'll see you on the inside. Peace. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, much better. Yeah, I was hearing too much of my bass coming through, and it was bothering me. I was like, oh, wait a minute. So anyway, for you that didn't know about that bass jam pack, there you go. Now you know about it. I put the link in the description there. So yeah, let's get back to this track here. Let me see if I can play through it now. Now my bass feels low. All right. Yeah, my levels changed for some reason. Charles, appreciate that. Because I can't tell what y'all hear until I watch the replay. Let me throw this in here. I had a lesson. I was telling one of my students, he might be watching, but I was telling one of my students, like, maximizing, because I get a lot of questions. I've been posting a lot of shorts and reels and that type of thing lately, and I get a lot of questions about what it is I'm playing. And you'll hear, yes, I have, a pretty decent vocabulary of things that I know. And I I got some repeatables that I use a lot. But the thing about it, though, when you listen to a person like a B.B. King, something like that, you go through about 12 songs, and chances are you're going to hear a lot of the same stuff over and over again. He just, the way he played it, the way he phrased it, you just never really got tired of it. And I think we're so oftentimes in our playing, we don't like repeating ourselves, or we're trying to always find a new thing, or we get bored with our sound, or we get bored with what we're doing. Let me rephrase that. We get bored with what we're doing, and sometimes we can speed right on past the thing that's us, the thing that's unique to us, the thing that makes you sound like you. And we have to be careful about those things and really maximize the simple stuff. Like, majority of what I play, as you guys can hear, I'm taking 4 scales. Most of the time I'm taking major, minor, pentatonic. I'm taking the major and the minor scale, and just kind of mixing and matching. And I add a lot of little nuances here and there, but those are like a lot of my go-to stuff that I use. And so I'm just taking all that stuff, like moving it around. That's major scale, all major scale. And just moving all that stuff around, literally. So don't sleep on like the simple stuff. Again, I think it's so easy, as you're progressing and you're hearing all these people do all this stuff and you see all these theory videos and hey, learn this, and if you learn this scale, and if once you know this, you don't have to learn anything else, and once you know your modes and understand, all that stuff is important, don't get me wrong. But I think if you can't recognize the simplicity of like just recognizing what certain scales sound like and being able to implement those scales, understanding what they sound like all over the fretboard, and being able to implement those little by little into your stuff. Like if you can't understand what that sounds like, it's going to be hard to try to mix and add. I want to add a little Dorian in there. That's cool if you do want to add Dorian, but you have to know what it sounds like. You know what I'm saying? In terms of getting used to implementing it at will, you got to start recognizing what that scale sounds like. So you do know when you, like, if you go through the trouble of learning all the theory for this stuff, you recognize it once you hear it. You're able to pick it out and like, oh yeah, that sounds like that could be that. You know what I'm saying? So now you're not just experimenting. And don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with experimenting, but sometimes we try to learn too much stuff at one time instead of maximizing, for lack of better words, instead of maximizing on what you know currently. You know what I'm saying? Use what you have first and then add little by little as you build little by little. Don't keep trying to add stuff to it and you're not sure of the stuff you use. Maximize what you have, add a little bit more to it, start maximizing that, add more. And so now when you get ready to have a conversation with somebody musically, then you can really express yourself and intelligently say what you're trying to say, rather than sounding like you're saying and talking about something that you're not completely sure about. Just my opinion though. Hey mama. So yeah, so let's it was another song I was playing through before I did this one. I don't know if I'm gonna do that one today, but I was having a little fun playing with that one before I jumped on this song here. I'll try to play through a little piece of that if I can before we jump into this talk. I gotta remember what key that one's in. Let's see here. This is one of them grooves you can get lost on real quick. Oh yeah. So if you guys are wondering what this song is, it's just a loop section from the name of this song is called "In the Lord's Love." It's also from the Dreams Work Reality album Part 2. And it has a really nice little thing happening in here. I had a friend of mine, Jamonte Ford, singing this really cool vocal part. And he was singing, if y'all hear my kids, they are in here in the studio. So, amen, praise God. But he was singing a really dope vocal part. And if I can find it, I'll unmute it. But yeah, he's doing some really cool stuff over this. One of them little technical things that didn't happen, it sounds like his vocal moved. It's off a little bit. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I don't know why this is doing that, but keep it Charles said, I always thought that was you singing. Nah, that was not me singing that. That's Jamonte Ford. Yeah, I didn't sing on that one. I probably sung on another track, but that I definitely wasn't singing that stuff. Yeah, his scat, and I like the tone and the texture of his voice for this song. I think my texture is slightly different from that. He said this definitely has a Philly soul sound. All right, okay, I'll take that. Philly soul, I'll take it. And I see y'all's other comments. I'm gonna come back to them. I don't know what I was thinking when I was writing this. Sometimes that melody will come to you and you just go around it. I think with this particular song, when I started writing the vamp, this actual song started out. Just tell you guys, I'm gonna move on, but I'm gonna just tell you guys the power of using your looper pedal. This song started with a loop on my my little Jam Man stereo that I be using. I started making this song. I wrote this song. What was it? 2014, somewhere in there. I was just making a loop. But anyway, when I was putting this record together, I'm like, I like that loop. But it started from this right here. John 3:16 states. Let me take that out. It didn't start with that. That's all my friend Will Perry. He added all that, all that goodness. He added that. But it started with this right here. This right here was the loop. That bass line was what I had. And then I added the melody. Right? And so we added a pre-chorus to the. I added a pre-chorus. I guess it's a pre-chorus. I don't know what to call it. Then turn around. Back to the top. So this song was literally a vibe, and when we went to that melody, not melody, but that ending part, the vamp is just, I heard that melody over the vamp, so it was like. So that's literally all I heard in terms of the vamp, and so we just started kind of building the chords and everything around it just to see what works. Like you got a drum loop that's happening, and so you start playing that melody around it and just keep building. That's pretty much how this thing came about. All right, so jumping into this, let me see. Let me go back. I know I missed several people talking. Let's see who we got here. Big Dub, good morning to you. I remember, Marcus, you said that's the key point for me. I need to get more familiar with the scales. Yeah, man, those scales is everything, and I think we just like basic scales, not even getting deep, just the basic scales and learning how to use them, not just play them for exercising. All right, they told me to go with my major scale, and if that's all you put into it, that's all you're gonna get out of it. That's like, come on, put something else into it, That's great that you can play that. Now, what else can we do? Like, try to figure out how to start implementing that into music. All right, so let's keep it moving. Candy Lester says, "Man, this groove is E. I can't tell what it caliente. I can't tell what that is. Caliente or something like that. El Caliente. Oh, El Caliente. I'm so got you. All right. So Christopher Shepard says, "Do you have times where your bass doesn't sound right in the room, and I guess you don't know what scale to play, but because of the tone, it's almost like you can't. You know what scale to play, but almost because of the tone, you can't. Do you know why this happens?" I'm trying to understand what you're asking, Chris. You're saying like maybe there's a overtone that's happening in the room, if I'm understanding you correctly, because sometimes certain, like, depending on how the room is, the what you call it, the acoustics of the room, sometimes you play a certain note and that note will ring out and it kind of clashes, because the room is just maybe not treated properly or something like that, and then certain notes don't sound great in the room. If you're talking about that, then yeah, it can be weird trying to play under those conditions because you're always hearing that distraction, and it's gonna throw you off when you're trying to play certain things. So yeah, I've definitely experienced that. Sometimes you have to also like I played this gig not too long ago at the Velvet Note, and how my bass normally sounds in terms of being really, really clean and crisp, it was not that. And I used the same rig, everything was the same, but the way my bass, like I played that venue before, and where my bass was sitting on stage, and that's if you've never been to the Velvet Note in Atlanta, it's a very small, intimate setting, jazz, basically a little jazz situation, and that stage is super small. So the last time I played it, I was like on the corner of the stage, and I had my rig facing like at an angle. But this time when I played it, I was like right beside the grand piano, and so my rig was like right, very close to the wall. I had about this much space between my rig and the wall. And so basically what was happening, I was in a bass trap. And so the little air that my cabinet was throwing off, all of that kind of stuff made my bass sound muddy. So I ended up having to cut some of my bass to get my bass to cut through and give me a little bit more clarity to adjust for my positioning in the room, and also to just let my bass cut through clear. And I wasn't missing any bass because they still had me coming through the house, so everything still felt and sounded good. It just what my sound that I like to hear beside me, I didn't get to hear that as much, but I had to make up for the difference that was in the room in order to make sure that what I was trying to get out came through nice and clear. So you always have to just kind of make sure that you adjust your settings for the room. Marcus says this sounds really nice, really smooth. Thank you, man. So I think I read through all that with Charles. And Christopher came back and said, sometimes it doesn't sound right or it's hard to hear yourself and you know what to play, and it's hard to push through it. Yeah, you just have to really kind of, again, adjust to the room, because that room will make or break you if it's not tuned properly. And if you're not using in-ear monitors and everything like that. And sometimes you're just going to be in those situations where you gotta learn how to get through it. It's like the old school. You got to man up and play through it, because it's just what it is. Some situations are just, for lack of better words, they just trash. And you just have to figure out how to get through it and how to still have a good tone, how to have a good sound, and make sure that you're executing everything to the best of your ability, and just adjust as you go. Adjust with the room as you go. A good trick that a good friend of mine, Mr. James Howard, always told me to do early on in my playing, he's like, if you can, stand off, like away from your amp when you're doing sound check, and back up and listen and see what your bass sounds like, especially if you have a 30-foot cable. If you have a 30-foot cable that you can use, that's a super long cable. Most people won't have that. At least a 20-foot. Back up away from your rig and kind of see what the stage is hearing. Now, if you have somebody else in your band that can play the bass a little bit, give them your bass, walk to the back of the room and see what the back of the room is hearing. Especially if you're not running through the house, if a small venue, walk to the back of the room, and then based on that, you can kind of see how you need to adjust some things with your rig. And these little tips here always kind of help you to not go down in flames, because early on, I know there was performances that I would do, and I'll have somebody like that was a bass player. He's like, man, he said, whatever you was playing, I know you was killing, but I couldn't tell because it just sounds like muffled. From I hear what we were hearing, everything sound muffled. Your bass rig sounds great on the stage, but by the time it get to the back of the room, it's like it's lost. Everything is woo, woo, that's all you're hearing. It's not really clear. So you have to make sure you adjust for that, and especially when you don't have the house sound to make up the difference. So always kind of know what's going on with the room that you're playing in if you're not running through the house. That way you can adjust to make the difference. All right, so I think I done spent enough time on that and the bass technicalities. But the question that I wanted to ask you guys today: are you more than a musician? And the title of this, of course, was Born for More. Are you more than a musician? Or whatever it is that you said. Appreciate that, Marcus. Or whatever it is that you say you are, however you identify. And when I say identify, I'm talking about your trade. Let's be very clear. I'm talking about what you do on this instrument or what you do for a living. That's what I'm talking about. No, we gotta be politically correct here all the time. But yeah, I'm talking about specifically dealing with who you are as a professional, whatever. So when you're welcome, Chris. So when you think about who you are as a musician, a lot of times it's like, hey, I'm this person and I play for that person and I've been doing this for X amount of years. And so we completely identify with who we are or who we think we are based on what we do, instead of completely fully identifying with the full person of who you are. So I recently talked to someone who was kind of going through some changes in their life. I talked to a lot of folks who are going through changes, but recently I talked to somebody who's going through some changes in their life, and how they were trying not to tie themselves up into what they did, because now that business could be possibly going away. And so that's grounds for a lot of people for a midlife crisis, because what you've been doing all these years, and we've seen it on movies and TV shows, is like, you got the cat who's been playing football all of his life, and then one day he realizes he's older and he can't do that anymore. And so now you've been doing this since little league, whatever. And so now you're a 45-year-old man and you can't do this anymore. And this is all you've known all your life. And you've identified yourself with this one thing. That's one extreme scenario that I want to give you guys, that you identify with this one thing. And so now you can't do this one thing anymore. So it leaves you at a crossroads trying to figure out, man, who am I? Because I've been this guy. I've done this thing all of this time. And in a sense, you've limited yourself. Now, I would say allow that job, allow this thing that you do musically as a musician, allow that to be the launch pad for who you really are. And I think in my life, that's kind of what I've done. I didn't know I was doing it at the time. I started out like everybody else. I wanted to do music. I loved music. I spent every waking minute when I was younger trying to do music, staying at my home church, staying out in my little home studio that I had at my mom's in my house, staying out there at 3 and 4 in the morning, producing music, playing music, everything music. So I wanted to be a musician. I knew that. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do with it, but I knew I wanted to be a musician. So that's what I put all my time, my energy, and my effort into doing, is becoming a musician. And ta-da, I did it, becoming a successful musician. So ta-da, I did that. So now what? So after you've accomplished that goal of being that, musician or that person that you wanted to be, now what? What after that? Because all of you will find, if you haven't already gotten there, once you reach that pinnacle of the thing that you are after, once you finally reach that, it's like, now what? It's like, you spend all your life learning to climb a mountain, and once you finally get up on the top of the mountain, you're looking for something else to climb, right? Or you're looking to do something completely different, because this goal that you were trying to accomplish, you've accomplished it. You've done it. You've done this thing. But if your whole entire being has been tied up into, I just want to be this, then that's not a great end goal, because once you get there, then what? And I think a lot of musicians don't ask those questions enough. So we fight hard to become something that we never intended to become. I see it happen all the time, especially since I've moved to Atlanta. Well, years ago when I moved to Atlanta, like 16, 17 years ago when I moved here. And I've seen so many musicians that started out with me, or at least my peers, rather, that, they were trying to just kind of come up, trying to get on. And once they finally got there, it's like, I have a, it ain't my quote, but it's a quote that I like to use. I think it's from Jim Rohn. It's like, be careful who you become pursuing what you want. Be careful the person that you become pursuing what you want, because we're always becoming. You're always becoming something. Now the question is what? The question is what? Who are you becoming? You're always becoming something. What's up, Stephen? So the question is, who are you becoming? So in your quest to be better, in your quest to go after more, in your quest to figure out if you're more than a musician, or if you're more than a creative, or whatever it is you do, if you're more than a truck driver, if you're more than a secretary, what are you? And what can you do with this other part of who you are? One thing I've learned with us as creatives and with us as believers, for those of you who are believers, if you're not, I encourage you to become a believer, a believer in Christ. One of the things I've learned is, like, we were put here to serve. And so we're going to have many different obstacles, many different things. Like, let's just make it musical to not make it deep for people. On your musical journey, as you're growing, as you're learning, you're going to encounter difficulty. Like, at every turn, like you're working on a skill, and something about that is going to be difficult. You're working on learning a song. I done got 15 songs locked down, and I'm sweet with them. And then there's that 16th song, and it gives me so much trouble, and I don't even know why. And then you got to work through the why, and then you got to figure out how to fix this so you don't run into this problem again. And so it's always something on the journey of becoming more that, like, I want to be more than just a human. I want to play a bass, you know what I'm saying? So it's going to always be something on that journey that's going to challenge you to improve who you thought you were. And it's going to be very, very challenging. But what we can take away from that challenge is that all of this ain't just for me. All of this is not just for me. And if I can figure out how I can use this to serve other people, or to help other people, then a lot more stuff makes more sense to me. How can I use what I've been given? How can I use this crisis later? Because right now, when you're going through a certain thing, it doesn't make sense. It's like, yeah, this is dumb, and this doesn't make a bit of sense. And if you get caught up into that, it's like, yeah, none of this stuff is going to make sense. And you're not going to be able to use it later, because you're only looking at the negative aspect of whatever it is you're dealing with. But when you change your perspective on how you're seeing things, how you're seeing your situation, how you're seeing your current thing as a musician, how can I use this? How can I use this to empower? How can I use this to my three things: to motivate, encourage, and inspire? It was very difficult as a musician to try to make that shift, because I'm gonna be honest, what I'm doing right now, I thought y'all would reject it. Be honest, it was like, I know I have more in me. And when I started making the shift in my life, and I started seeing, like, wait a minute, there's more to me to just learning these set lists every week. And instead of just learning these songs, instead of going playing here and playing it, don't get me wrong, I am super grateful that I've had the music career that I've had, to have placements, to do this and to play for this person. And, like, the dream, like, it's been great. But you're sitting there and it's like, man, there's more to it than this. I literally have felt that ever since I was in the backwoods in Mississippi playing in New Zion MB Church, playing the keys. It's like, there's more to it than this. I moved to Alabama. I started playing for a church over there, and it's like, there's more to it than this. And finally moved here to Atlanta, and it's like, yeah, there's more to it than this. And so it never ends, because even at the pinnacle of what you think your career is, you still get that thing like, there's more to it. There's more. And it ain't so much there's more to it. The thing is, there's more to you than this. So for me personally, all those years, I'm sitting here hearing this thing, or I'm saying it to myself, it's got to be more to it than this. Well, the it is you. The it is you. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There is more to you than what you are currently seeing. There's more to you than this version that you've presented to people, right? So don't make the mistake, like a lot of people say, well, this is just the way I am. You can take it or leave it. I think that's a really ignorant statement to make. just personally speaking from experience, I think that's a really ignorant statement to make because number one, you don't know what all potential that you possess. And so when we just, kind of close it off to, well, I was this and that's all I am. That's all I'll ever be. Like case in point, I'll use this. You guys know if you've been around for any stint of time that, I come from a family of truck drivers. No disrespect to truck drivers at all. I love it. I still go on YouTube and Instagram and I'll be checking out trucks and stuff like that now because that's what I come from. That's what I know. And so when I see that kind of stuff, I can relate because that's where I come from. But that ain't all I am. I hear cats when I watch some of these videos like, well, I guess it's just in me. I'm born and raised in the truck and it's just in my blood. I can't get it out. I'm going to be a trucker to the day I die. I mean, that's cool. But at the end of the day, is that all that's inside of you? Is that it? No disrespect to that. If that's what you want to do and that's your passion, that's what you love, by all means. But is that it? That's the question that I'm asking today. Is that all that's inside of you? If you're a cook, is that all that's on the inside of you? That's all I ever did. All my life is cook. Okay, that's great. But if you can't cook anymore, who are you? If you can't play anymore, who are you? If you can't drive anymore, who are you? So the challenge is to figure out who I am under all of the stuff that I've identified with. And I think most people struggle in life because we don't answer that question enough. And we're always answering that question. Now, the core of who you are should never change. In terms of at your core, who you profess to be, you should be that. But there's so many different layers to that I think we should be exploring, and most of us never explore because we become complacent, we become comfortable, we become content with, this version of who we are and who we've been. And the bad thing about it is things never stop moving. A person learns how to use, let's take it back. A person learns how to use, a rotary phone, right? And they like, I'm sweet. I done figured out all I need to know. And I'm gonna use an extreme example. They use a rotary phone and I'm sweet. I ain't got to learn no more. I know how to use a phone and you ain't going to tell me nothing. I know how to get on there. Bam, bam, bam. I twist it around. I call whoever I need to call and I'm good. Anybody that's ever been around longer than 40, 50 years, you you got to learn some other stuff, right? The rotary phone was cool when it was the new thing, but now it's like, nah, they came out with the touch keypad where you can dial a phone. And then they came out with the mobile phone, or the phone that you can move around your house with. And then they came out with the cellular phone, and then they came out with some other stuff, right? So you had to continue to keep learning because as much as you want to stay comfortable and stay content where you are with who you think you are, the world keeps moving. So once you want to, put your what you call it, the anchor in the ground and just stay there and say, yeah, I learned all I need to learn. So now I'm gonna just stay here because this is who I am. Well, I think that's what we do when it comes to like our education, learning certain things about something that we do, and we do it well, and we think we've learned enough. We don't learn anything else about it. I know enough. I'm good. I'm solid. Well, the world keeps moving. Things keep changing. And if you don't continue to make the adjustment, then you're going to be left behind because everything is changing. Everything is moving around you. Everything is moving around you. Everything is forever changing. So if you don't make the adjustment, you're going to be left behind. So now you see these cell phones, you see the iPhone, you see this, you see that, all these different things you got to learn how to use. Now you got to learn how to use TikTok. You got to learn how to use Instagram. And don't get me wrong. I'm talking to me because I hate learning curves. I don't like learning curves. So when it comes to a software that I use, like especially my production, even the fact that I use Logic versus Pro Tools, I like Logic because it made my workflow easier. So once I get a certain workflow going, I don't like to mess with it. I'm like, I know how to get in here. I know how to do this. I know how to do that. But they keep coming out with different software every year. They keep coming up with upgrades. They keep coming up with like, you got to do this and you got to change that. And so you have to keep learning. If you're going to keep doing this thing, you have to upgrade like your computers. You know, I was straight with Snow Leopard, but nah, y'all gotta keep raising it. Apple gonna change that operating system every week. Look like, so you have to keep upgrading. You have to keep now. So all that being said, we can go on for days with the examples. But if you're gonna make all these upgrades on all these external things, if you're gonna make all these upgrades on all these external things that help you to do life, why wouldn't you upgrade you? Why wouldn't you? Why would you settle for the version of yourself 1.0 when they got like 4.5 out? It's like this is Jermaine Morgan 1.0. It was cool in the 90s. We're in 2023. So that version no longer works. That version no longer works. So we have to make sure that what we're presenting of ourselves is what we want. Make sure that what we're presenting is something that we're going to be fully satisfied with. All right, so let me read a few of these comments. Andre says, "Good morning, bro. I just got on the road heading to Tampa, Florida." Okay, man, be safe. This is exactly what I needed. This is Marcus Jones. This is exactly what I needed. I wonder sometimes when I became a bass player that I'm proud of, then where I'm going to go with it. Oh, wait a minute. I wonder sometimes when I become a bass player, I keep reading stuff wrong. I'm hearing my kids over there, so I'm distracted. So I wonder, let me go back. I wonder sometimes when I finally become a bass player that I'm proud of, then where I'm going to go with it. That's exactly what I'm saying today. Like, man, I hear so many people say, man, if I could just get to where you are on the bass. I'm like, then what? Because I ain't satisfied. I'm cool. I like what I do. I like what I hear. But like, I know for what person is coming from because I was there. I was coming from that perspective of, man, if I could just get there, man, I'll be sweet. But the thing about it is the finish line keeps moving. Once you get there, like the finish line and move is like you don't even know you arrived to the place you were trying to get to. Other people will recognize it, but you won't. As long as you keep bettering yourself, as long as you keep raising your level of awareness about where you are, about yourself, about the ability that you possess, it's like that finish line keeps moving for you. And it keeps you moving forward. And it should keep you hungry. That's the thing it should do. That finish line that keeps moving shouldn't make you frustrated. It should keep you hungry to be better than you've been, right? Stephen says, explore the gifts that God has put in you because he is a God of creativity. There it is. Technology is a self-governing process that continually upgrades itself to stay current. System of duplication. Stephen is dropping these gems out here today. And we have to continue to do that. We have to continue to improve. We have to continue to upgrade. So to answer the question that I asked at the beginning of this, are you more than a musician? Absolutely. Absolutely. You're a human being. You're a human being with mind, body, and soul. You have more to offer than what you're offering. Now, if you can figure out a way to put what you offer in and through your music, that's even more great, that you're able to positively affect the world through what you do. But don't just be a musician. Don't just play scales, right? Don't just play songs. Don't just learn people's set lists. If you're in a position where you have to gig right now, where you have to do these things, figure out how you can serve people at these gigs. Figure out how you can be of some type of service beyond your gifting, even if it ain't nothing but just sitting down and talking to somebody who came to the show to hear you play, and just talking to them and listening to what they have to say. See, it don't take much to be more. It don't take much to be more. It just takes effort, and that's the thing that confuses people. We feel like to be more is going to take so much. It's going to take so much more. No, it only takes a little to do more. It only takes a little effort to do more, to go the extra mile, right? It's kind of like, picking up a piece of trash that you see walking, like you see a piece of trash on the ground. Well, that's a small little gesture that you can do and pick it up and throw it in the garbage. Well, I can't pick up every piece of trash, but if I pick up one little piece, that's one less piece of trash that's on the ground. Or speaking to somebody, I try to make it a point to speak, even when people keep their head down. They ain't trying to speak to me. I think we were grocery shopping yesterday, and folks is walking by you. How you doing, man? Good to see you. That kind of stuff. And I'll speak to people, and you make people smile. You make them talk. You make them engage with you. I said make. I don't mean make, but you know what I'm saying? You get people to talk and you get people to engaging with you because we live in a bubble and we're so protected and we're so safe that we won't maximize our potential, even the potential of being friendly to somebody who needs to hear from you today. I mean, you just don't know what a smile would do for people, just smiling at somebody. Hey man, how you doing? Like just smiling, man. That dude was really nice. I know for me, y'all done heard me rant about just having bad customer service. Just you want to tip a person. Just think about it. When you're at a restaurant and a person just comes to you and they are just kind to you, and they, even if they're talking about themselves and they're just joking, the fact that they're lighthearted, they're kind, they're making, you know, the if there's tension in the room, they're breaking the ice or whatever, they come over and they have a good spirit about you, you automatically want to give that person something because of their energy, because of what they're giving out. And it don't take a lot of effort. It just takes a little bit of energy just to change a whole situation. So just imagine if we were more intentional about changing everything that we do, about everything that we do, making it better, seeing how we could better serve people with it. If you're an artist and if you're doing a show, because I know there are some artists who check me out from week to week, and if you're an artist doing a show, don't just be so into you and your instrument that you don't bring the audience along with you. Your stage presence, I had to really work on that. I had to seriously work on stage presence, and then I started learning about. I tell you what, a good person for you guys to study. Look at Bobby McFerrin. To me, Bobby McFerrin is probably one of the GOATs of stage performances, because he has a thing, I think, that he says is it's his goal every time he gets up, every time he hits a stage, it's his goal to, before he leaves there, to have the audience singing. That's one of his goals. And so it's so entertaining for me to watch him and watch how he does what he do. The dude sits there and basically what I got on, a t-shirt and some jeans and a microphone, and captivates an audience and has them smiling, has them laughing, has them having a good time. And he's making people's day better because he's being more than just a musician, more than just an entertainer, right? So it ain't always something super deep, but it's about going that extra mile with who you think you are. So that way, if I can't sing, you ain't depending on my voice. I can still go and do a full concert. I'm speaking in terms of Bobby McFerrin. All he got to do is get y'all to sing. He can stand out there and do his thing and direct you and get you to sing, right? Because he's figured out how to do more with his gift than just only use it for just music's sake, right? It's so much more that we could do with this stuff. All right, let's go back. George says, just signed in. Smiles will turn a person's attitude. Absolutely. Encourage or invite. There you go. Bobby McFerrin. There it is. So yeah, Bobby McFerrin is somebody you guys definitely need to check out. And for you bass players out there who has that same type of demeanor in his performances when we're talking music, Richard Bona, to me, hands down, is one of those guys. And they actually do something together. Him and Bobby McFerrin have done several things you guys can go on YouTube and find. But Richard Bona is another person for me who has an amazing, amazing gift with people, who like goes beyond just playing. He knows how to engage the audience. He knows how to talk. He knows how to interact with people. So I would imagine, outside of playing the bass, based on his stage presence, I would imagine that he's probably very sociable type of person, probably when you get to know him. Some of these people can be like very introverted once they get off stage. I understand that. That's neither here nor there. I'm just talking about being able to go beyond the norm of what is expected for you as a musician. I see some of y'all. I watch some of your broadcasts. I watch some of your videos and stuff like that. And some of y'all are like dry as flour, you know? And it's like, we get nothing. And like, let us feel your passion. Let us feel your energy, because this should be an expression, an extension of who you are. So something should come out of you that's on the inside of you. So that way, if we take the bass away, if we take the drums away, if we take the keyboard away, if we take the guitar away, there's still something there. Because the question is, if we take all of this stuff away from you, would a person want to sit there and have a conversation with you? If we take your talent away, would a person want to have anything to do with you as a person? All right. So if so, all right, or if not, rather, what can we do to improve that? How can we improve upon who we think we are? Because there's more to us than what meets the eye. Transformers. Bars. Right? So, all right. So, Douglas says, just spitting that reel right now. I gotta go to work. I'll catch the rest of the replay. All right, Doug, man, thank you for hanging with me. But this is pretty much it. I'm not going to keep going with this. Marcus says, I'll check out Bobby McFerrin, Richard Bona. And yeah, man, I appreciate y'all for hanging out with me today. I just wanted to put something on your mind. Of course, I can't answer all these questions for everybody in terms of, well, is there more to me than just being a musician? I could say, yeah, but how much more? I don't know. I didn't know I was an author. I didn't. I didn't know an author existed in there. I didn't know I was a public speaker. I didn't know. I didn't know that I was going to be singing and leading people in the worship. I didn't know. I didn't. But when you take the limits off of who you think you are, then you're able to become who you're supposed to be. All the fullness of who you're supposed to be. When you say, well, I'm just a this and I'm just a, nah, I'm whoever God made me to be. And I'm available to be all that he's created me to be, right? So when you go from being this to being available, that changes the dynamic completely for you. Christopher says, thank you for this reminder. I have been more aware of this aspect lately and was reminded that in God's presence, there's the fullness of joy. If I have been in his presence, I should have some joy. All right, Chris, don't make me put you in A flat, doc. You should have some joy if you've been in his presence, right? Because there's an old song that a group I used to play for years ago. They used to sing this song. Many of you heard this song. If you love Jesus, then you ought to show him some sign. There ought to be some sign, like you said, if you have joy in your heart, there ought to be an indicator, some type of indicator to let other people know that you are joyful, you are happy, you're excited. I mean, otherwise we walking around like the Walking Dead. We walking around like zombies. People should sense the joy that we say we have. You know, if we have this joy, people should sense it. It should be something about us. And let me tell you this wasn't even on my agenda to say or to do today. As musicians, because I know I talk to a lot of gospel and church and people who are in the Christian world or whatever, however you want to say it, followers, believers, you know, let us be mindful of our giftings in this season. Let us be mindful of our posture, of our hearts. Let us be mindful of who we're calling ourselves and what we're representing and what we're showing to the world. Because I think, again, I wasn't intending to go here, but I think we're in a season of a revival, and I'm not just referring to the colleges and all of that kind of stuff that's, you know, they got these ongoing services. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in the body of Christ. I think there is a revival about to happen. And I think if you're not positioned properly and if you on some church foolishness, you're going to miss it. If you on some just business as usual, you're going to miss it. If you're on just taking God casually, you're going to miss it. I would rather be in a position where I can be used in this season, in this thing that's about to take place. I would rather be in a position, heart posture wise, availability wise, where I can be used for his glory rather than being used to be an example that somebody shouldn't follow. I said it. I would rather be in a position where I could be used for his glory than to be an example that don't do that. That's what you don't do. Because I believe in this season, people are being exposed for who they are. And it ain't just big time preachers and big time this and big time that. It's small time people too, who are being exposed for who they are and for the inconsistency that they've been representing. And if that's you, now is the time to adjust it. Now is the time to get it right. Now is the time to repent. Now is the time to turn it around and get in the right standing how you're supposed to be, because it all matters. We think it don't, especially as musicians. I see the culture that we have as musicians. We think, and I've been there. I've been young. I've been doing this thing when I was in my 20s, so I get it, being hip and just trying to be relevant. But there's a relevance that I want when it comes to my name being written. There's a relevance that I want when it comes to when I stand for God. There's a clear separation, or there's a clear indication of what side I'm on. There's a dividing that's happening, and people are getting fooled, and people are getting pulled to one side. Here's the thing: you don't know when your time is coming. I know for some people this is over your head, or this is too deep, it's too whatever. Look, I'm gonna tell you, you don't know when your time is coming. So the best thing we can do is position ourselves properly with the right stuff, and make sure you're reading. If you're calling yourself a church musician and all this kind of stuff, you're calling yourself a believer, you better get in that word. You better know what you're reading. You better know what you're hearing, because all these pastors ain't telling you the truth. Everybody ain't preaching the Bible, right? And so I'm sure I'll probably catch some flack for this, but it is what it is. You just better make sure that you're hearing what you think you're hearing, and you knowing what you're supposed to be reading, and not depending on somebody else to give you what it is. Because even the folks that's calling, what they're saying is the truth. You better make sure you're rightly dividing that truth and listening to the spirit that's on the inside of you, so you know what you're supposed to be doing. So I know we make excuses as musicians, because I've done it. Well, I got to do this because I got to pay the bills. Don't get caught in the wrong place because you made a decision that excluded God. The ego acronym, edging God out. Don't let your ego get in the way of who God is in your life. I started making a clear distinction between certain things that I was going to do as a musician and certain things I was not going to do. And to be honest, that's the whole 10 ways to success. The working musician wasn't just because that, I just wanted to write a book before the book. It wasn't just because of, I want to figure out how I can make this it's like, I had to figure out other things, because I was no longer willing to compromise just for the sake of having a gig. This stuff is costing me spiritually, and I ain't doing it. And I made that distinction. I'm not doing that. Don't call me for that gig. Or if you do call me, I'm not available. And I made a clear distinction. And I will tell you this, and you'll see in my own life, if you ain't seen it yet, man's promotion can't hold a candlestick to God's. Stay in the will of God and watch how God promotes you. You might go up through man's promotion and through cutting corners and through trying to fit in and trying to be relevant, but it ain't going to last. Only promotion from God that's the only thing that's going to last. And I'm just trying to tell you, young musicians, or even you old musicians who ain't got the memo yet. I'm just trying to tell you guys, I'm just trying to warn you. You jumped on here for something else, but I'm just saying what I'm saying. So I got to tell you, you have to make sure that you are in right standing and that you're on the right side, because there is something coming that you're either going to be exposed in what you're doing, or you're going to be caught up in the middle of it, and it's going to cost you way more than what it's worth. And you thought it wasn't that big a deal, and it'd be a sad thing for you to just proceed on as if you didn't know, and then you get caught up in the stuff that you're doing as a musician, and it costs you. Some musicians, I done seen it cost them their families. I'm telling you experience. I ain't making up stuff here. I done seen musicians lose their families. I done seen musicians go to jail. I done seen musicians messed up their reputation, or all of the above. Just being in the wrong environments, accepting the wrong thing, compromising, and just, everything gonna cost. But I'd rather pay for something that at least, I'm paying for it now, but the payoff is bigger. I don't want to pay for something or do something and then the payoff sucks. Nah, I'm good. I'm good on all of that. So anyway, Chris says, thank you for being a skillful bass player, and I can follow and trust not to lead me wrong spiritually in music. There are other bass players I enjoy learning from, but I can't trust them to not poison me. Woo! Guard your hearts, guys. Guard your hearts. Guard your hearts. Careful, little eyes, what you see. That's all I can tell you. Guard your hearts. Guard your hearts. And, I'll let you guys in on this. Before I get on here, and even talk to you guys and say anything. There's a lot of things I share on this channel, but one of the things I pray, my consistent prayer before I get on here and say anything to you, I said, God, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight. Oh Lord, my strength and my redeemer, because I don't want to cause even one of these little ones to stumble. I ain't wanting them hung around my neck. I'm being serious. I don't want to cause anybody to stumble because of an inconsistency in my life. So that's why it's a consistent prayer of mine. No matter if I just get on here and talk bass the whole time, I want the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart to be acceptable in God's sight, because I know what I'm about. I know who I am. And I don't get it all right. I don't think nobody does. But my intentions is to help, not harm. So yes, there's more to me than just a musician. Yes, there's more to me than just a bass player. And there's also more to you than who you've settled for. And on that note, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. And I thank you all so much for listening to me today. And I hope and pray that this has been helpful to you. And if it has, be sure to share it with somebody. Hit that subscribe button if you hadn't already hit it. Turn on those notifications. And let YouTube know, yeah, we don't mind listening to that old guy. Anyway, guys, y'all have a great day. And take care. Peace.